Resident Evil 1. Guess who finally got around to playing it? As one of the most influential horror games of all time and the genesis of a series that I've become a big fan of over these past 2 years, this playthrough was a goddamn inevitability. We made this playthrough happen, and so, as usual, we're about to make the review happen. Let's mosey. Alright, ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Addy, again. And I hope you guys are doing amazing as always. And more specifically, number one No Pickle, one of the men, myths, and legends in our community. I hope you're doing amazing if you're watching this, since I gotta give you a shout out for very kindly gifting me this game on Steam last year. I know it took me forever to get around to this game, seeing that we played it on Halloween of 2024, not on Halloween of 2023. I can't even remember what game I streamed to celebrate the occasion last year. If I did stream anything at all, that is. I don't know. One of you folks in the community can let me know in the comments below. But I finally did it. I finally played RE1, and I'm really glad that I did. Like I said, these past 2 years, I've become big on Capcom's delightfully terrifying and beloved horror franchise, with my absolute favorite one being the remake to Resident Evil 4. If you saw my review of that game, you know that I had nothing but positive things to say about it. I was gushing over the game from start to finish. It was a goddamn masterpiece. So, getting to finally experience the very first game in the series, the HD remaster of the 2002 remake, to be precise, was wonderful. And this should go without saying, Resident Evil 1 itself was wonderful. If you've played the newer games and are going into this classic one, there's really no need to be apprehensive about dated elements here. While there may be one or two minuscule ones, such as not being able to drop items or send them to your storage, less than stellar voice performances, and a wonky aiming system that may take some getting used to, you'll still end up going, I get it, I'll give it all a pass since this game is over 20 years old, and I'm ultimately glad that this game is still as fun and enjoyable as it is, and that almost every staple element that I recognize from the newer RE titles, such as a typewriter harboring a safe room with relaxing music, herbs that patch you up, cleverly crafted puzzles, tight yet exuberant environments, and so much more, are all here. They were all present since the very first game. And this was a really pleasant surprise for me that made me go, damn, normally you'd see most of these iconic facets crop up over time through the series, but no, it's apparent that Shinji Mikami and his team in the late 90s had a very clear, distinct vision and came out swinging with it from the very get-go. And that to this day, almost every game in the series carries on this legacy as best as it can. And my biggest commendation here is that for the very first game in the series, it is astonishing how well these elements that we know and love are executed upon. So much so that despite me having played the newer and technically superior RE games, this one still absolutely goes in my top 3 that I've played thus far, next to 8, and of course, the remake to 4. So, much like those and other games of the franchise, Resident Evil 1 has a straightforward plot with succinct pacing that'll either make it a mere 11-hour experience or a 20+ hour one if you're unfamiliar with the game, and more specifically, its puzzles and twisty progression that inflate playtime. In it, you play as one of 2 fan-favorite characters, Jill or Chris. I chose Jill since I've never played as her before, who as part of a rescue operation must work their way through a spooky mansion that, as per series tradition, is infested with virus-afflicted beings. You'll spend a lot of time here back and forthing through a myriad of twisty, narrow corridors whilst taking on a lot of iconic freaks and geeks from the horror genre. And that said, I loved how for a classic game in this series, it harkens back to a lot of classic horror elements, like zombies for example. You largely end up fighting the stereotypical arms out, flesh rotting, brain-hungry dorks straight out of a Romero film. And some pretty stereotypical locations too, like a dark, misty graveyard with wolves howling in the backdrop, making you feel like Michael Jackson is about to jump out of the shadows and begin Thriller dancing. What I'm trying to say is that the aesthetic was amazing here, and it was refreshing to get a taste of old school horror. And the graphics, by extension, were amazing for the time too. Like, man, these pre-rendered backgrounds have aged like a fine goddamn wine. And yes, the game was pretty dang scary too, which I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say is an important thing for a horror game to consider. And the really cool thing here is that while you think the main source of this scariness is the design of the zombies, hellhounds, and well, sharks that'll be trying to eat your booty, it's actually the constant gut-wrenching pressure of personal survival. Even on the medium difficulty setting that I played on, enemies like the hellhounds are fast and brutal, making every encounter a dangerous gamble. On top of that, ammo and health pickups are limited, so you can't fight recklessly. And even worse, there's an amazing and unique yet terrifying mechanic where if you leave a zombie corpse unburned, it comes back as a crimson head, a faster, stronger version that's even harder to kill. The fear of these reanimated bozos adds an extra layer of tension, forcing you to carefully manage both enemies and your resources. And the biggest one is how the game restricts saves with scarce ink ribbons. Save too often and you'll run out. Save too sparingly, and a single mistake could set you back significantly. I learned that the hard way, oh god. Pretty much the only way to learn something like that. Hi, doggy. Jill, no, look at the dog! Okay, well, guess we're not touching grass. Guess we're not going outside. It's a game for true gamers. They don't like to touch grass. Respect. Have to restart the whole game? Oh god. I'm gonna try not to cry. I'm gonna try not to cry. I'm gonna put on my big boy pants. This is, it's an old game from an old time, bygone time. Gotta, you know, respect the rules, respect the times. Add in the jump scares of enemies randomly crashing through windows in the dead of the night with the spectacular ambience of thunderclaps and a rainstorm, which at times can be weirdly relaxing, by the way. And the result is a constant state of anxiety. Okay, so I just realized, yeah, we have the gemstones. Benny, Jesus Christ! Fuck this guy. Oh my god, of course they're over here too. Fuck you. I'm going to my safe room. Go to my happy place. That was the worst jump scare. Every choice feels like life or death, and when combined with an old control scheme with a non-traditional, non-existent aiming system that doesn't exactly make it easy to take your foes down as they ominously approach you, you've got this relentless pressure that doesn't leave you until you roll the credits. And that relentless pressure is what makes Resident Evil 1 a goddamn masterclass in survival horror. And so, for that reason, it should come as no surprise, ladies and gentlemen, that I think that Resident Evil 1, the HD remaster version, if we want to be more precise, is a must-play masterpiece. Yes, we've all heard the term timeless classic 1,000,001 times before, but guys, it really is the best way to describe this game. And based purely on the fact that I was enjoying this ride as much as I would any solid contemporary game, it didn't take long for me to see why this is considered something so special and influential. One of the best things about RE games is that they're built to be replayable. And I love that about Resident Evil 4. This was yet another one of those series mainstays that I could identify from that game and a couple of the others that I was happy to see spawning from the very first title here itself. I'm tempted to jump back in, not just experience Chris's run, but also to take on challenges like maybe a knife-only playthrough or, God forbid, even a speedrun, something I'd usually avoid because of the sheer stress of it. But the fact that I'd actually want to speedrun RE1 speaks to how great the game is. The game is stressful, sure, but in a weird way that doesn't make me want to never jump back in, unlike RE2 Remake, which, while I adored, I'm too damn anxious to go back into for challenge runs. Here it's quite the contrary, I'm eager to jump back in. Puzzles did take me ages to solve, but the satisfaction of figuring them out was immense. And as I completed them, I started to think about how much faster and more efficiently I could tackle them on a future run. It is exciting to think about returning and improving, be it through mastering puzzles or exploring new ways to conquer its challenges and level design. And that feeling of growth, combined once again with the game's relentless tension, is what makes Resident Evil 1 so damn rewarding. And somehow, like I said, it only makes you want to keep coming back for more. But anywho's folks, I think y'all get my point. This game does get my highest verdict on my personal review scale, and I think that if you're into spooky games and haven't yet given this game a shot for whatever reason, then please do. And if you're put off by the date that it came out, admittedly a little bit like me, please don't let that deter you. Take it from me, you will get a solid amount of thrills and chills out of this game. That's it for me today, folks. I'm really excited to one day take on the next RE game that I've yet to play, whether it's a remake or a brand new entry, and to be back here talking about the experience as usual. So if you want to catch that eventual stream through, this one that I did, or any of my older ones from the past, then be sure to catch me live on twitch.tv/irritableidian, or my second channel where I store all my VODs. That's Irritable Archives, both of which are linked in the description below. And until the next one, keep on keeping on.